my name is Felipe, and I am CEO of eMerge Americas. We, as I shared, are a platform dedicated to transforming Miami into becoming the tech hub of the Americas. And we do this by convening all the stakeholders that make up our thriving tech ecosystem, from government to higher ed, accelerators to incubators, and large corporate partners like America's most convenient bank, TD Bank. We connect the dots between the entrepreneurs, the capital, and the talent pipelines. And we help tell the story of how South Florida and the region as a whole is transforming. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce today's moderator and host, a gentleman whose family is an institution in our community and whom I'm personally been a long admirer and honored to call a friend, TD Bank Market President Felipe Basulto. As Market President, Felipe is responsible for the bank's retail network sales and operations, including consumer and small business accounts and lending across 93 locations in South Florida. Felipe is a institution in South Florida in and of himself, and serves on the board of directors of the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce, where he was a past board chair. He's also the immediate past chair of the South Florida Hispanic Chamber and is the chair of the foundation. Please join me in welcoming my dear friend and our partner, Felipe Basulto.
Felipe, thank you so much. And it is my honor to call you a friend. I am the admirer of you, sir. And I'm so excited that we had a chance to finally partner up and start doing some great content, because we got a lot of things that we're excited about at TD, and we wanted to make sure that we shared it on this incredible platform of eMerge. So thank you for all that you do, and we do need to catch lunch soon. So with that said, we're just thrilled to be here today. So on behalf of TD Bank, America's most convenient bank, it is our honor to be sponsoring this How to Create an Innovative Culture webinar with our eMerge partners. So we're very excited. And tell you a little bit about TD Bank. We are actually the 10th largest bank in the United States. We have over 9.7 million customers. And hopefully sometime later this year or early next year, we will finalize our acquisition of First Horizon Bank, which we're very excited, which will actually make us a lot bigger in the US and serving 7 additional states where we currently are not present. We actually offer services in private banking, wealth, retail, consumer. We have TD Auto Finance, our commercial, small business, middle market. We have the full breadth of financial services. But I want to differentiate something for all of you today too, because I have 2 of our panelists who are from TD who are also part of what we call our TD Banking Financial Group. So they are actually global employees, and they're more than just employees. Wait to get to hear about what they do, which is one of the big things that we're very excited about sharing with all of you today. Actually, so if we look at TD Bank, Bank Group, it's the 5th largest in North America. So because we have tremendous presence in Canada, where we are headquartered in Toronto. I mean, again, we offer tons of services, all the financial services there as well. But without further ado, I want to make sure that we first of all, introduce the panelists that we have with us today, who are awesome, and we've had a chance to meet prior to this to prepare. And I'm going to do a quick little bio. I thought Felipe was going to continue to read that bio, and I'm like, no, please don't. I really have to shorten that to a quick snippet. But I do want to go over with you guys a little bit and talk about how incredible and awesome each one of you are. But I'm going to ask you to shorten your bio real quick, because I think it'll be probably the best way for you guys to introduce yourselves. But here to my left is Licenia Rojas, and Licenia is actually our chief architect and engineer. And at first I thought it was building like, all of our structures, because we keep growing. I'm like, no, like for your IT world. And I'm like, oh, wow, like everything. And she's like, everything. And it's a pleasure to have you here. And she is actually one of our global employees, and she leads this effort for all of our TD Financial Group.
Thank you so much, Felipe. It's been great to join TD. It'll actually be 1 year that I'm here in 2 weeks. So I think it's, I've been celebrating my 1-year anniversary all week already.
It's like the birthday month.
Why not? But I'm really happy to be here at TD. And definitely one of the reasons why I'm here is around the culture. It's just great that we're going to talk about this topic today, and we'll get more into the specifics around that. I have the honor of leading a team of architects, engineers, as well as all of our emerging technology. I also support our innovation labs and teams globally, so I'm really excited about that. So prior to joining TD, I was 23 years at American Express. So I'm 30 years in technology overall, and have worked in different industries as well. So I'm really excited to be in this brand that's also really amazing and innovative and just really about the customer. And so I'm really excited, as you can see. And then over to my left here is my head of developer experience, Christiaan Veerman. One of the first people I got to meet when I was at TD. It's almost like when you find each other.
Yes.
And you're like, we're going to do great things. And I actually today wrote him a little note thanking him for a wonderful 1 year. And we're doing great things, and we're building our tech hub.
Yes.
And Christiaan's a big reason around that investment around developer experience and just bringing the passion that he had while he started this in our TD Securities business. So I'll let Christiaan introduce himself and talk a little bit about what he's up to.
Thanks, Licenia. Thanks, Felipe, for having me. Yeah, I'm Christiaan Veerman, head of developer experience. I started my career here in the wholesale business and capital markets in the investment bank. And yeah, I'm just very passionate nerd who loves engineering. And
you're no longer nerds. I'm just
No?
want to tell you, no, everybody loves you guys now. So let's,
I mean,
let's keep that in
technology's everywhere,
perspective.
right? And I feel like everything's being engineered. So, there's a long career here, but, really having a supporter like Licenia and TD Bank, really give a voice to the engineer has just been so amazing. I just relocated to Southern Florida to build out the TD engineering office. And I'm over the moon. Like I'm a new father. I got a new amazing leader and this amazing country that's welcoming me. So I couldn't be happier.
And we're thrilled that you're here, and you picked the best part of our TD Bank footprint. Trust me, it's all good. So perfect.
No bias.
No bias whatsoever. So today we also have, and it shows, I don't know if it shows where we're being hosted at, but Terry, I'll let you talk a little bit more about that in detail. But thank you very much for hosting us here at this Innovation Lab. We're so excited, and TD's thrilled to partner with that, although I'm going to leave some of that for Jen to go over when we introduce her next. But please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be amongst all of you. So we are at the I Love You Levan NSU Broward Center of Innovation, which we call in short the Levan Center. And just briefly, we're a public-private partnership between Nova Southeastern University and Broward County. And we're really here to drive economic development for the entire region of South Florida. And we do that mainly around entrepreneurship. And then to do so, innovation technology is also a big component. And we are thrilled to have a partnership with TD Bank to move that forward.
We are.
And personally, I'm the Assistant Executive Director of Operations here. So.
Great. Well, again, thank you so much. And you can't see all of it, but believe me, this looks nice. That looks great too. So the whole center does here. If you have some time to definitely make your way here to visit, they've got incredible resources here. So another one of my TD Bank colleagues, America's most convenient bank colleagues, that's how we refer to the U.S. enterprise, is Jen Starkey. Jen is actually our regional vice president for our commercial team here in Broward County, and also serves the Boca community as well. So kind of an expanded geography, and as well as our Southwest Gulf Coast, because we've been growing that way. We will continue to be growing that. And Jen, you've been here a couple years, right? A couple years at TD?
Just a couple. Just a couple. Working on my 20th year.
That's amazing.
This year.
That's amazing.
Thank you. It's I plan on being here another 20, unless you need to drag me out.
No, well, I probably wouldn't be here that 20 more. I don't know. I do want to hang it up at a certain point and retire on a beach somewhere.
But part of the reason that I've been at TD for 20 years is the ability to follow both my personal and professional passions. And certainly entrepreneurship, diversity and inclusion has been a passion of mine for my entire 30+ year career in banking. And so when Terry called me 2.5 years ago and said, Jen, we're building this innovation center and we think TD would be a great partner, I thought of our small business resources that we have. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what the center needs. to help entrepreneurs get off on the right foot. So it's really been an amazing partnership. We'll talk more about some of the programming and how TD has participated, but it's been an absolute pleasure and one of my most favorite things that we do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the one with the coolest accent's coming up. That's for sure. Where has he gone? There he is. Conor, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Thanks very much, TD and eMerge for having me on this panel. So Conor Delanbanque, CEO and founder of Strategio, and our mission is to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion for underserved and underrepresented groups in enterprise technology. And so before this, I grew up in the UK. I did 5 years in New York, working in the talent space, also working in professional services and consulting. And I've been in the South Florida region, down in Miami, for the last 2 years. Absolutely love it here. Obviously, great weather. Apart from this time of year, it gets a little bit rainy, but besides that, I absolutely love it here. So for us, innovative culture, it's both in terms of internally building a startup, the entrepreneurial journey. There's constant innovation, change, failure, success, disruption, right? That's everyday life. But also innovating the way the talent space works, the way people hire talent, and also the way enterprise organizations actually modernize and transform. So kind of all pieces we're looking at here, it's exactly the type of stuff we love to address. And looking forward to digging deeper.
I can't wait to hear more about that overall. But, culture really is about defining about how you go about doing things. Like, you go about it in culture. So many people can say it's so many different things. Obviously, it's funny, actually, look at all of our different backgrounds, personal backgrounds in culture, because I kind of personally know a little bit about each of you. So I think that's so cool. Look at our diversity here is already reflected. But I think one of the cool things about culture and what people don't always understand is that culture, while it is process oriented, it creates a feeling. And you can feel the energy right here from you guys. So I'm very excited about that. And it's important. But innovative culture, that's not always so easy. And I've come to a big conclusion over the past few years where so much change and innovation going on. Not everyone embraces it the same way. But I think the beauty is that you really have to define that innovative culture within your organization, group, small business, your home, in order to be able to innovate and move forward. So one of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to, go ahead and start with you, Licenia, actually, because you're kind of in charge of that for TD. So I think it'll be a really good overarching theme. Talk to us about what it means to you, what it means for us at TD Bank, this innovative culture.
Yes, that's a great question, because it's something that oftentimes is asked, how do you create an innovative culture and what do you do? And I think one of the things that's unique about TD, that innovation is with purpose. So you have to have a purpose behind your innovation, and it's core to our organizational framework to have innovation with a purpose. And it's really around enriching our customers' lives and the communities and where we live, and connecting our colleagues. And you see this throughout the framework of the company and everything that we're doing around our investment in technology, our investments in people, our investments in empowering, and how we're driving the organization, and really being clear on objectives and goals. And when you have that, then you can create the culture, because what you're doing is you're empowering the people to drive change. You can have small change, like a lot of times referred to as little I, and then you can have big I. But what you have to do is create a space that people feel safe to drive ideas. And I'll use an example with, Christiaan and I, he'll have ideas and he'll say, I want to try something out. And we're like, go check that out. Go try that idea out. And what you try to do is create the environment, the ecosystem where you have the guardrails to do that and repeat it over and over again. So I would say from a cultural perspective, it's really, really important to keep things simple. And that's something we're working on. I think all large corporations want to continue to simplify. So this is something just part of the course of being part of a large group, but also you have to put it as part of your mission and your framework. So I think those are important elements in order to create the culture. Sure. And I would say last but not least, and I think you see it here, have some fun, right? Yes. Have some fun and create a place where you can share ideas. And I have to say that, being new to the bank, feeling very welcomed and learning about our customers directly from going to store visits with you, creating those connections, understanding our purpose in being here. I mean, we're nerds. Christiaan called it, but we want to do it with, we embrace it, but we want to do it with purpose, and it has to be for our customers and colleagues and our community.
Yeah, love that purpose part. I think that really stands out. But your little eye, big eye, I already feel that number one, I do know it because I have gone to visit with you. And by the way, our colleagues at our locations actually love when Licenia comes out. She's always asking how we can do things better to serve our customers and our communities and make our colleagues more efficient. But I love that big eye, little eye, but with the underlining purpose. So let's get into some of the things going on in TD. And since Christiaan is really leading these efforts, it's time for him to chime in here. But to elaborate, what are so people banking, they're like, well, what's so innovative? That's not true. Everybody knows that you can bank off your phone. You can send money all over the world now. I mean, it's on your fingertips. When I started this a couple of years ago, Jen, with you around that time, we used to encode checks. If I even told you what that was, you'd die. We used to look up signature cards on microfiche. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. That would be a whole relic meeting that we'll have.
That was my first job.
We had this conversation recently, and we're talking about this. With that said, Christiaan, please walk us through what are some of the innovative rollouts TD Bank's doing. What cool stuff?
Yeah. I mean, well, innovation is just doing something new, right? So something that hasn't been done before, and really we're trying to do it from the very top. We're reorganizing to meet our colleague and customer demands, to organize in platforms, journeys, and products, right? So product center, around our users. Yeah. And we're, part of that and elevating the voice of this engineer, these nerds that I identify as. We have these engineering practices, right? So this is like a forever home for our engineers to think a little bit bigger, right? So not just today, but what the future lies. And as we know, it's very technology enabled, right? So coupling that with some access. Right. So like just defaulting access. So when people start at TD Bank, they have the tools and the communities to support them. And like how we do things here, because we do things a bit differently. Every company has its nuance. And so being able to just get them up running very quickly is very important. And then on the community part, we're embracing, how the internet works, right? Sure. All these big projects are using collaborative methods for crowdsourcing, all of their things. So we're doing inner sourcing, right? We're trying to build the next evolution of internal tools, right? To meet not only our colleagues, but our customer demand.
Well, I know because our teams are really, enjoying all the incredible things we've rolled out, especially when pandemic, which I gotta save that for the end, but we'll talk about that. But interestingly enough, from the pandemic perspective, what's been the rollouts that we've done, the way our customers, we have curbside pickup and we're not Taco Bell. I mean, those are things that you all enabled. The way our customers communicating through us, we prepare because we can instant issue a physical debit card at our locations. That kind of innovation is what people are like, wow, you can do that? I'm like, sure, just wait in your car, air conditioned. Because of the rain too. Anyway, but that's amazing. And I know there's so many other things going on. I love how you guys work with our teams, our colleagues, and our customers to see what's better. A lot of really cool things to come for the future. So Terry, a lot of people, talk about innovation centers are cool. I mean, we're creating stuff. We actually have a little bit of a lab here as well. So we can talk about that. But it obviously, people who invest time, effort, space, whatever it could be, capital in an innovation center, they want to accomplish something. They're defining that culture. What value does that bring into those people who are doing that? What's the importance of doing that?
Well, I think it goes back to the culture aspect, right? We're building a community around innovation. Yeah. So, and innovation, to your point, it's about thinking. It's not only about creating new things, but about thinking differently. And so when we bring in together different, whether it's academia, industry, government, entrepreneurs, investors, under one roof, you can really create some cool stuff, because it helps you think as like, hey, we're doing X, Y, Z. And then you're like, wait, I can see how that may apply to us, even though it's a completely separate industry. It could be somebody in health working with some type of product or service. And then you're like, wait, I can see how it can apply at or one of our banks, as an example. Yeah. So it really helps with the thinking outside the box and again, looking at things in a different angle. So that's part of what we do, and that we are called the large collision station for a reason, and that's what it is. So our members, it makes up all different industries, all different levels for that.
Can you take it a little bit further? Elaborate some of the different types of industries. I don't if it's proprietary information, you can share who they are. But no, because I think if you show the diversity of that and how incredible they come, and I have to jump in on the community concept. You see, the nerds have a place to gather. But I want to thank you for apparently letting me, who you're not including me as your nerd group, but I am as well. And I it is a great place where so many people from so many different cultures, because I'm building up for that diversity stuff, Conor. And it really does. That's the best innovative culture, because the difference of thought is
absolutely
really pushes you further. Elaborate a little further. Who do you got hanging out here and working out here?
Well, that's actually a great point, because so what we have is our memberships, and we have 8 different memberships, and part of that is, to your point, the accessibility aspect, and not everybody can access to the same degree. So we created different options to ensure that we have that inclusivity aspect. But as far as who's here, from the corporate side, of course, TD Bank, but then we have like City Furniture, we have Peak Activity, which is one of the fastest tech growing companies in the state of Florida. We have ThinkRight, Validify, we have some lesser known companies that are in that mid-range stage as well. And then the startups, and one that is very familiar to the eMerge Americas family, Sarah, is one of our startups. They were one of the top 5 winners at the eMerge America Startup Showcase, and they have a home here. And then we have our program participants. So we have 4 core programs: Ideate, Incubate, Accelerate, and Post-Accelerate. In short, we call it the founder's journey. And it's one of the things that makes it unique, because we can help an entrepreneur at every stage of their journey, right? Everybody has different needs at different stages, and there's a lot of incubators and accelerators, but they tend to focus on 1 or 2 stages. Right. We're here, it's everything from I have an idea, I'm not sure if it's worth starting a business, all the way through that global expansion, IPO, exit, whatever end goal is, and everything in between. And we do that not only through the programs, but through our wraparound services, events, collaborations, like our TD Bank one.
No, I mean, we're just hearing you speak and hearing Christiaan and his objectives, what he's doing. This is an ideal place to come and hang out and tell me, what do you think? What do you need? Because that's what we're, as a banker, it's what we're looking, what do you need? But I'm gonna let somebody else who's really the expert at that talk about that. So Jen, as the banker, how do you work on what our customers need?
Sure. There's no better way than asking them first, right?
But not everybody does.
No, this is true, right? At TD Bank, America's most convenient bank, we do have dedicated relationship managers, regardless of size of business. Right. So it is about having people who live, work, and play in the same area as your business, sitting down, talking to you, and then us being able to give back, sharing what we know by being in the community, by working with different organizations. So whether it's about providing banking services or lending, it can also be about, hey, we have 9 million customers here in the US. If you're looking to meet someone, I can probably help make that connection for you, whether you're looking for customers or looking for vendors. And certainly collaborating with places like the Levan Center, we're able to help connect our customers to an entire community of people that where they can collaborate together and literally solve the problems that are occurring in our community.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I would imagine a lot of our audience that's listening in eMerge, you have the startups, you have the small businesses. I mean, you could have corporate customers, but you have incredible resources here that we're sharing with you, because that's really what we wanted to impart about that innovative culture. Now, Terry spoke a little bit about the Ideate program here, and I know, Jen, you're very directly involved. Can you elaborate a little bit more about how the Ideate program for young entrepreneurs, I mean, those startups or young entrepreneurs or, even smaller businesses that don't have all the resources that come here, how does that all work, and elaborate on it?
Sure, absolutely. So, and why I'm so passionate about the Ideate program is, Florida especially has the most number of small businesses starting up in the US, but unfortunately it has the most number of startups failing. So with places like the Levan Center and the Ideate program, it's really giving tools and education and information so that they have a better chance for success. A lot of these entrepreneurs know exactly the business they want to start. They have their idea, they know it's going to work. But we take a little bit of a step back and we say, who's going to be your customer? Who are you going to sell this to? Identify your customer for us. Who is that person? Because you have to know who you're selling to so that you know then what problem am I solving for them? How much will they pay for it? Where are they? Are they in my location? Can I get to them?
Right.
And that helps you target your marketing. The next thing is, entrepreneurs have their idea, but they haven't maybe even started thinking about cash flow.
Right.
Can we make money off of this business? It may be the greatest idea in the world, but if no one wants to buy it and you're going to sell it at a loss, is it really worth it? So we talk about cash flow and scenarios around that. The last piece is what we talked about is always being an innovator, always taking a look at your business to say, what else could I be doing? Is it about increasing sales? Is it about finding ways to reduce expenses? Is it about expanding my product lines? So, there's a great book by Dr. Adam Grant that is called Think Again. And it's about constantly being that scientist and looking at your business and looking at the data. If the data says your customers don't like your product, it might be time to change your product.
Maybe.
Hence Blockbuster, is a perfect example that he uses in his book. So it is about, sometimes entrepreneurs have an idea. When they go start, and we always recommend start small, if the data is telling you that your idea isn't going to work, having the courage to move away from that idea you started with and go down a different path is what leads people to success, rather than I'm sticking to my guns and going down with the ship.
Well, hearing you speak about Adam Grant, I think that in order to create that innovative culture, you have to have the psychological safety in order to have the courage to speak up. And Licenia, elaborate a little bit more, because hearing about all this, and I have to share this story and I know Angie, who's sitting back there in the room, knows that I love to use this story. Let's say I'm a businessman. I make great croquetas. It's my great grandmother's recipe. Can't innovate that recipe. That recipe stays. But what happens is, like, this croqueta is like a big deal. People are willing to pay for it, but I don't know how much they're willing to pay for it. I don't know how to make the croquetas quicker. I'm not sure how to market my croquetas, how to price them, how to distribute them. So how do you give advice to these people to say, this is a culture? I mean, you run TD Bank's innovation.
Right. So I think, a lot of work here is data, starting simple and small. We tend to call them minimal viable products, MVPs. So you want to create what does success look like, what problem you're trying to solve, all the items Jennifer covered. And then you can use technology to help you, right? You can capture the data. You can survey your customer. You can understand the market, scan. There's a lot of data available publicly too around other pricing strategies. So this is where data helps you. And we also encourage the businesses to make some small investments in their automation. Sure. So that the data is easily available to them. They can quickly react to customers, getting that feedback loop going, because it's around experimentation, testing, and learning. And then as you scale your business, you want to leverage technology to continuously help you automate and grow. Because what happens is then there's a moment that you need to scale, and you need that automation to help you. And that could be with distribution. It could be with fulfillment. It could also lead to partnerships with others. So you want to build that ecosystem. And also coming to an environment like the Levan Center and leveraging the resources here, you get to also learn about others because they share their stories. And that's one of the important items of culture. I'm a big fan, as you can see from the technology side, that we can really also help you personalize how you engage and market with the customer. And that's some of the innovation we're doing. But you could bring that at small scale, large scale. And there's a lot of technology available in what Christiaan was referring to in open source. It's available to you.
Right.
And coming to the Levan Center or working with our groups, we can then share those insights in what you would do and use and why.
And it adds tremendous value.
I'm always learning. And I think that's the key.
Yeah,
but
that's an innovative culture.
That is, you're always learning. Like, no one here has all the answers, but together we can make some great croquetas and get them to sell.
Everybody's like, we're all in for croquetas.
So we have
we're in Miami when we're talking about croquetas.
We can 3D print in the makerspace, the casing for them. They can very personalized. We have the crickets too. We're good.
Oh my God.
My favorite are ham, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely a ham croqueta guy too, but I'm
Cheese
Cuban. I'm a
croqueta.
Cuban descent, so that we kind of like, that's our go-to. Although after Thanksgiving, the turkey croquetas was always like a thing. Because what do you do with all that leftover turkey? Make croquetas. But this really is great. Where it takes people to and organizations into that that culture piece of really listening and asking questions and coming together in a community. Because I'm kind of trying to save up. By the way, I'm engrossed in this. I have no idea how we're doing on time, so I just want to check real quick. Okay, that's fantastic. So Conor, I know you're reveling and hearing everything that's going on here, because you talking about the importance of diversity, inclusion, the equity, all those parts which are critical for any culture of any success anymore. I'm sorry, that's just my reality, and I know it works that way. Talk to us. What do you think is the most important part about the innovative culture and the inclusion part?
Yeah, so I like the way you mentioned the inclusion part, because this isn't only about diversity.
Right.
Yep.
The first part of diversity is getting all the differences together, right? So the different backgrounds, even on this panel, just the life experiences, the different locations we came from, genders, cultural backgrounds, etc. Right? Then you've got the innovation that happens by people bumping into each other and not knowing. City Furniture, like you mentioned, TD Bank, we solved the problem this way or that way. You would never have seen that if you had all been from the exact same background in that. So that's bringing different ideas, right? Different experiences and a challenge to a way you've worked, right? Which is the differences is the innovation. But then also you think of the diversity piece. It's to me, it's only the beginning. It's actually a data point. It's just a metric of did you have differences or not, and how many differences. And really what we're working towards, something you said earlier that I really liked, was psychological safety. That's a sense of belonging, right? So we're working towards that end point. You've got diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. Right. And that's where we're trying to get towards. So if you start with increasing the differences, right, the representation, the number of differences in these teams, then you work towards, okay, now there's a chance that there's going to be representation of people. So they'll be more likely that you'll include others that may be like you or have been through similar experiences. And then you'll think, okay, but is everyone getting a fair voice? Are they getting fair advancement? Are they getting fair opportunity within the organization? And then the next part is, now that you're getting all of that, okay, now you can feel, or do people feel safe here? How do they actually feel? And that's not data. That's not a metric. That's just a actual sense. And it's a feeling, like you mentioned.
But how do you feel culture? That's what we started off here. How do you feel culture? And keep going, because I want you to keep imparting. How do our audience, how do all of us inspire that inclusion and make sure that everyone's participating, collaborating?
So so there's a few ways. Firstly, I think we actually have to, if we're talking about building teams, companies, organizations, I think we've got to be intentional with this. Right. So if we look at some things right now, like we're talking about technology and innovation, in the enterprise technology world, we've got like 26% representation for women in tech, right? We've got like 3% representation for African American and Black women, and 2% for Hispanic and Latino women. Just some of the groups that are underrepresented. So if you're leaving people out, and let's say in the scenario of TD, you've mentioned things like getting the customers what they want, having quick access to things they need, making changes quickly for the customers. And this isn't just TD, this could be any enterprise organization or a small company trying to give customers what they want. So if you're able to include the people in society in your teams, like if your team is all one group and there's 10 people building something, they may not have thought about what that maybe that a woman wanted if it's an all male team, right? And you could just recreate that scenario over and over again. So it's getting people, it's getting things for people quickly, like adapting for your customers, providing value as quickly and as efficiently at the highest possible quality. And you do that by having these differences, and you inspire that by starting with being intentional. So hiring people from the different backgrounds you can, including them in the conversation, not just giving them, let's say, like a seat at the table. It's actually making sure that when they're at the table, they have a voice, they can actually be heard and seen when they're at the table. And that's the thing that I found specifically at Strategio. We're 92% from underrepresented backgrounds. And what's happened over and over again, people have joined our organization and they say, I've never been seen or heard like I have been here, but we're not actively doing that on a day-to-day basis. It's because we have experienced this, and our differences are like actually checking our biases, making sure that people do feel okay. And it's like, I guess it's a warmer feeling. It's this feeling of safety that we've spoken about. And guess what? You do that and you scale, and then the next tier of people in your organization who've joined repeat that. So I think being intentional as you build, and a lot of the things to add another piece, I've heard things from Licenia and Christiaan in the ways that you've innovated from technology. The journeys you're talking about, like idea, build, test, deploy, right? Send into production. That's literally your pipeline that you're looking at. Address the data, iterate, fail, keep improving, don't blame people. That's exactly the same as the startup journey.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
So I'm applying all these features and the ways that you're doing it in technology to the business. And then now we're operating in the same sort of way, and it's okay. We failed. What did we learn from it? You don't want to fail. You just want to learn, and you're quickly adapting and making sure you can eventually go in that direction. But it all starts with being intentional and including people in the conversation.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this. I reached out to Conor through LinkedIn. So I read an article about him. I was like, I want to meet him. So I sent him a message.
I like him too.
and it was because I wanted you. We were set with the mission of go build a new tech hub. And Christiaan and I were like, we want to take it to another level.
Yeah.
And TD was all in, of course. Like, go do it.
Not bad.
And then I said, let's talk to others around in the community to help us. So I just wanted to mention that because we're always learning. So although I've run large teams for a long time, you know, we've created new teams.
Small company called Amex.
You know, it is, but it's always interesting. Like, you have to think like an entrepreneur. And we said, we're going to think like founders. And TD's given us something and go do something different. And we wanted to do that. We wanted to surround ourselves. Hence the partnership with the Levan Center. Then I meet Jen, and Jen's like, I'm all in. You know, we're going
that sounds like Jen. That's very Jen-like.
Yeah, that's very Jen-like. I love that. Yes.
But I want to take a moment to think about that because I had to feel safety in doing that too.
Sure.
Here, you know, I'm a 30-year veteran in the space that, you know, I'm an expert in. But I also went to people and said that are new startup, you tell me what to do. I want to learn from you. And I think that's what is changing. And we all need to feel comfortable with that because together you bring this knowledge and that's power. And more companies, whether you're small or large, letting your colleagues feel the ability to bring others into the conversation and say, I want to learn from you.
Yeah.
I have something to learn from you too. I think it's fabulous.
No, you two together definitely, you know, shine when it comes to the collaboration part. But obviously, that's a testimony to the success you've had. But I'm going to be the devil's advocate for a second here, because I have about, I think it's 923 people in my world. That's my oversight. I mean, luckily I have, thank God I have, like, you know, managers, team leaders, regional managers. I've got a couple levels, but if you ever get a chance to work with me, I know who everybody is. I mean, it's a whole other approach. Well, innovation's fantastic. This culture is fantastic. But very simply put, change is not easy. So how do you include all that don't keep up the pace? I can roll things out tomorrow, and there are people who know how to do it almost as good as the programmers because they're quick, they're on it, they're always up for that. There's people who are always willing to change and they're all good, but they struggle. So how do you manage and balance that piece in that innovative culture? And you can go back. I'm going to come back to you, Conor, but Christiaan, it's on you. You're developing these things.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So it's innovation of you know, active listening. You know, really being able to engage with your community. Internally, we've been doing this. There's different ways of learning, right?
Sure.
So people want to learn self-paced. That's great.
Yeah.
Right. But then, you know, I've been doing these like work enablement Wednesdays. We do like I do an hour of like all the fun stuff, all the fun tech I found, all the new features. And I start clicking buttons and showing the things. And then we have like an interactive poll of like, hey, that thing is really cool and it could enable some of our business.
Right.
And so then we dig in on a Thursday. We call it a Toolbox Thursday, which is pretty awesome. And then so this is like deep dive, like maybe even a certification that comes out of it.
Sure.
And then it's like a For You Friday. Again, we're working on it, but like this is where you can carve out some time to go practice, right? Because like, hey, I can learn.
Is an MVP about practicing? As part of the Agile project, am I speaking correctly?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. I'm just trying to keep up.
Yeah, and then we're like rolling in this thing to like we have a kind of a gig economy internally for our technology. It's called TD Gigs. It's pretty cool. So this is where we need like stretch assignments, so you can you know, jump on a low risk thing like, hey, I need a developer to do this thing. Well, I just learned this technology and I'd love to try it out. Mind if I apply? Right. And this is kind of like at your own pace, but
Exactly.
you've got a mentor to help you get there, right?
And I think too, it's about trust,
Mhm.
right? It's building that trust amongst the team. So, I think back to, when the pandemic first happened and we sent some of our teams home, we thought, well, how are we going to serve our population from our homes? And it really was about take a breath, let's trust, and we're going to move forward together, right? Because you can't have progress without change. So there's always going to be change.
Right.
And I really do feel that trust component, and the trust comes from having a safe place, from being able to allow your people to contribute. And it's okay to have bad ideas and to try them out and say, all right, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else.
Right.
So I think that's how teams, deal with change and innovate best, is when they have that trust.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back.
Yeah, we're gonna get close on time here.
Yes.
So
I was just going to say one quick thing. I think it also goes back to the intentionality, right? You're not doing change for the sake of change. And if the group or the company understands why the change is coming, it's a little bit easier to accept.
but that needs to be expressed. And that's what happens, because a lot of times in the seats we've been in, we assume it. And some of the things Conor was saying earlier was being intentional and being clear.
Yeah.
Any last words on what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think that it's essential that leaders are part of this, where you have to show that it's okay to fail. You have to shout about your failures and constantly say, hey, here's where I went wrong, or here's how the system went wrong and what we've done to fix it or improve. And finally, also, when it comes to innovation, it's extremely uncomfortable. So you mentioned how is it for people who aren't necessarily following on with it, or they don't want to go on the journey with you. Sometimes not everyone is meant for the same journey. The journey might change and adapt beyond someone's capabilities, and that's possible. Or you try and get people to upskill, you try and include them in that, give them shared responsibility, give them accountability, and say, hey, I think we should go in this direction. What do you think? And kind of coach and guide people to come in that direction with you. But it's disruption, innovation is uncomfortable. When you feel that level of uncomfort, or lack of comfort, we're going too far. It's okay. That's when change is happening, right? So you've got to just sometimes roll with it and get the team to come with you.
Yeah, and be purposeful, intentional, and making sure that you keep up with them, checking how they're doing, support them through the change bars. Because there's things like we said, I can do that. I can evolve too easily. Other things I might have a challenge with. It's incredible. There's a lot of we all talked about different subjects, but let's see. Purpose, intentional, simplify. I know you think you simplify, but just let me have the courage to say it's not always as simple. But I love the fact that you guys want to make it simple. And the interesting part is, if it's not simple enough or we're not getting it, you guys do a great job to work to that. So we've got some questions coming up on the monitor. And the first one, of course, I'm not surprised this came up onto our radar: cryptocurrency and blockchain. This technology offers a lot of innovation that the financial sector can take advantage of. We do. Can we speak of how TD Bank may see itself applying these innovative technologies? So I'm going to go over to you, Christiaan, first, but obviously Licenia to chime in, and any other words there.
Yeah, I mean, the core part of those technologies is really about coming to consensus in a public view. Right. And so, we're on a journey to make a lot of our services available, right, in a public way, and, in a programmatic way, right? Sure. So we've got a journey to get these APIs in the hands of the next generation of customer. They're going to put together our products in ways that we never even dreamed about. Right. Freeing up this data, well, definitely, that's an innovative thing to itself.
Well, to simplify, API, what does that mean?
Application protocol interoperability or something.
Programming interface.
Programming
which is the interface that takes you from the program to the output. From what I've understood in my limitedness, it's from what the program does to the output that it goes out.
It's a way to to collaborate with the computer.
Yeah, and I think when a lot of people like to refer, remember when crypto people, I don't think people right now. I know people right now don't want their bank account be reflective of cryptocurrency. There's nothing like the stability of your dollar right now, you crypto fans. Crypto is a great form, and it's going to be incredible how the digital wallet and digital funds and monetary evolves, and it's great to have varying sources. But the blockchain piece, I think, is what's really cool, because they love the security of the transfer of information. Although, if not mistaken, a couple companies have had their blockchain kind of taken down, but we don't worry. TD Bank works really hard at having very secure systems. So while blockchain is fantastic, we're very proud of our systems.
Yes.
But
I mean, we're working on all these emerging trends. It's important to stay close to what our customers care about, and we work with other partners, and continuously learning. one of the things we just actually did was launch TD Workshop in Philadelphia, where customers can come in and tell us what they're thinking and what they're working on. So we're listening to the customer. We also have labs in Canada too that we leverage to listen to our customers. So these are trends we're following. I think it's important to follow these trends, and then we'll see where they apply for our customer, always making sure that we're safe and secure, because that's our number one. We're in the business of trust.
Yes, we are.
And Jen used that word, we're in the business of trust. So that comes first. And then if the technology can help solve a problem for the customer, we will be there, and we will be the best and the most trusted that you can count on. So I would say that that's right now what we're looking at. We're following the trend and playing with it.
Right.
Yeah.
We got to be, I love how you say, we'll follow the trend, we'll play with it, we'll make sure it's great for all of you guys to use.
Yes.
So second question is, and I'm actually about to convert from being moderator to being panelist on this question. What kind of innovation is TD Bank doing to help with low incomes to buy a home in South Florida? And Jen, I'd love for you to chime in a little bit on the small business side too, because I think we can expand that better. But so at TD Bank, a lot of the things that we do is we have quite a few different programs that help people. There are various factors to buying a home. I think everybody understands the concept that we need a down payment. Well, we actually can finance up to 100%. You just got to be careful right now, because it is whatever is less of the value that's appraised or the sales price. So that's one thing I always like to tell people, be very careful, just because you know, especially now that you have like lines out the door to an open house, and the house is now was a $150,000 house and it's now going for $1 million because of and I'm exaggerating to make a point. But what happens is you have to understand that there's ways to do it. We can do 97% financing. There's a lot of qualifications about that low income, and you need to meet parameters. But the best thing to do is to reach out to any one of us at our TD locations, and we'll connect you with a mortgage specialist in order to go through them. But there's different debt to income ratios that you calculate. Obviously, with the low income, there's different programs that allow for that, because mortgages fall into a certain box. And that's why the question lends itself to, well, how do you get around those boxes? And there's a lot of other boxes that were created to allow you to have lower debt to income, potentially some credit issues, some credit can be affected too. But if your credit's not good, no, it's not going to happen. If your money's there, those are things you need to take care of. But please reach out to us. We're here to help you. And TD Bank, America's most convenient bank, is open 7 days a week and 348 days a year. How do I improve my financial literacy? And Jen, I'm going to come back to you, because I think this one also goes with the small business one. My parents never taught me about investment. Welcome to the club. I think they used to keep cash in the mattress. If you guys offer any free resources or workshops, I'd appreciate it. Number one, and I'm going to have Jen piggyback on both these questions. Why am I the panelists now? We do have online, we have a financial wow zone that we do for kids, which is actually amazing, and we go into schools all the time to teach kids. At www.tdbank.com, we have financial literacy programs there. We do first-time home buyer workshops for mortgages, and what we just spoke about. Actually, just come in and talk to us. We'll talk to you a little bit about budgeting and the importance of saving money and putting things away. We're not, and by the way, we're not charging you for that, contrary to Senator's comments. But what I will tell you is that we are there to help you, and we have a lot of different resources available, as well as the state of Florida. But Jen, expand too, because we have small businesses and of course different businesses. I'm starting up. I want money to borrow.
Sure. So we actually talk about this in the Ideate program. Because you have your business idea, but now how are you going to fund it? How are you going to start it up? And one way, the most common way that people start up businesses is leveraging their personal credit. And TD Bank can certainly help you with that. And so credit score is a very important aspect of that, even when starting a small business. So, come in, talk to any of come into our stores, which is what we call our branches. But we also do workshops here at the Levan Center. And we have our small business resource page right on Google. So if you do TD Bank small business resources, there's a plethora of resources and tools for you. But really, we are also the #1 SBA lender in the state of Florida. And #2, I believe, in the entire country. So what does that mean to small business owners? That means, maybe your business isn't ready for a conventional financing. Maybe it's only been started about a year and a half, and you're not ready for conventional small business financing. The Small Business Administration government does offer programs for small businesses to help you get that working capital that you need to either grow your business or start your business. So, again, to get that type of financing, you just come into one of our stores and talk to us, and we're happy to, educate people on all their different ways that they can finance and grow their business. But it's first about having that quality conversation so that we can truly match up what the business needs, rather than just, kind of pushing something out to you that may not be the right solution for you.
Yeah, and don't be so humble. Jen is actually probably one of the best leaders who, the way she connects with her customers is being the one to provide advice. And by the way, make no mistake, it's not just a startup. Sometimes it's large businesses too. Are there certain business models that better enable innovation in the workplace? Conor, what do you think about that? Are there certain business models that better enable innovation in the workplace?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's the business model. That I think the business model is like, you could have a croqueta company, or you could have a large financial services institution, and they could innovate in, like, one could be, the large company might be innovating even more than the small company, like you've mentioned in that earlier scenario. So I think it's actually more about the culture within the company that you're working in. So the mindset, the way the leadership interact, maybe it could be that a remote first company innovates really well in one scenario, and it's also there's another one that has terrible innovation, right? So do people maybe under communicate in the remote world, and then another company has a globally distributed team and they're innovating in amazing ways and they don't even have to go into an office? And then you might say, well, hold on, we're all in the office location, or in an innovation center, and we're bumping into each other, having those spark ideas. So I think the business model, like if the question has come from someone who thinks, I'm starting a business or I want to be innovative, it's more about the mindset of innovation. Some of the things we've spoken about, like having a blameless culture, failing fast and learning, continuously learning, sharing knowledge with each other, not worrying about failure, etc. These are things that enable innovation more than the specific business model.
Well, purposeful again, and creating the leadership, the attitude, the inclusion of asking the questions, making sure you're always doing that is probably the model that should be used to create that, would be the best way to create that culture. How do we as a company, so I'm going to go to TD Bank on this one, show potential candidates that we're innovative? So Miss Innovative Lab Leader, how do you tell candidates that we're innovative?
I think it's really showing up in a way that you're listening. It's how you show up.
It is.
It's how you show up. Because people can read the awards, they can read the media.
Right. I was going to tell them Google the answer, but I like what you're saying. Right.
Seriously, I mean, you can read the media. We win a lot of awards. I mean, that's something that we're really, we have a lot of pride that our teams are recognized in the industries that we serve, and our customers recognize us as well, and so forth. But I think it's how you show up and how we, just the answer Jen gave. We will tailor. We want to listen to your needs. Well, it's the same when we're meeting a candidate. What is your career aspirations? Where do you see yourself 3 years from now? Why TD? What do you want to get out of this? And I think that because of our inquisitive nature, and because we care about the career of the person, that shows that you're innovating.
Yeah.
Because we want this to be a long-term relationship. It's not transactional for us. And when things are about a relationship and they're not transactional, you're creating the right culture, back to what Conor said. So I think what we need to do is also share what the opportunities are. And I also will tell you, there's a lot of things we're working on, because we know there's always how to take it to the next level. How can we be better? So you can win a lot of awards, but you don't rest on your laurels. Your customers' expectations are always changing. There's digital transformation. There's always new companies that are coming with new ideas. So you have to stay on top of it. We're a 160-plus-year-old company.
Yeah.
So we also have to stay fresh, bring new ideas, stay inclusive, diverse. And I think that's how you show up. It's how you show up, and that you have to show it with action, which is what integrity means. Your words and your actions work together. So I'm really, I feel like TD shows up in that way, and we're gonna, I think, do great things, and we're partnering with amazing people. So I mean, eMerge with Strategio, the Delanbanque Center. Strategio. I mean, Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when you just look at our partners, that says a lot.
Well, we're going to do something else to have a little bit of fun before we leave, because this past pandemic, I mean, you know, those 2 years are just whatever. But I want you to think of one adjective, one word that describes a pandemic for you, just a noun, an adjective, a verb, anything, one word. It could be a phrase. If it's 2 or 3 words, we'll take them. That really takes it in for you. And I'll give you my example in a second. I'm just going to give some thanking comments real quick, but I'll give you a little time to think that through and really process it. Being inclusive. Thank you. By the way, I want to thank everybody for your time today on behalf of TD Bank, and because I'm actually speaking for eMerge, because I want to thank everybody on behalf. Felipe had to run off to continue innovating, but the beauty of TD Bank partnering with us is taking some of our community and actually sponsoring and providing the support in order to make sure that we are creating an innovative culture. Felice opened this up by saying eMerge's purpose is to create Miami, a hub in Miami for the tech hub of the Americas. I mean, and this is just fantastic. But we have a great holiday weekend ahead of us. So I think everybody still thinks it's Friday. We still have one more day. But we definitely, this has been amazing, exciting. You guys are so dynamic. This is just, I could do this for another hour. I could probably talk about beyond my croquetas. So for me, the word is Instacart. That's my pandemic word, Instacart. Connor, over to you.
Zoom.
And that hasn't gone away, but I don't do Instacart anymore because I think they increased their fees. Jen.
Learning experience.
Terry.
Change.
Christiaan.
Probably work-life balance.
Yeah. Ms. Rojas.
Long.
You can do 2 words. Too long.
Too long.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much. This has been amazing, and can't wait to do this again.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.